This conference will now be recorded.
Hi friends, good morning. In this Azure Databricks Master Program, so in today's session, we are going to talk about creating and configuring clusters in Azure Databricks. How to create Azure Databricks, first we are going to see. Then we are going to talk about how to create and configure cluster within a Azure Databricks. That is what we are going to talk. So before we go and create cluster, we need to have Azure Databricks workspace ready. So before you create Azure Databricks workspace, we will try to understand when you create Azure Databricks, what all options we will have, how we are going to use all these options. Okay, let me just start with. So first we will see how to log in into Azure portal. Okay, so we have not discussed how to create Azure free trial subscription or how to create Azure account. So do not worry, because I don't want you to create the free trial account at this point in time, because it's not required for you to create a free trial account or pay as you go subscription at this moment, because we can use the Databricks community for most of the time, because there won't be much difference. But some cases, example, scheduling the jobs, and I want to read data from data lake storage into or blob storage. Even when we want to connect to the storages, that time I need a Azure portal, right? So at that particular time, we will create the free trial, so that free trial we can use in an optimized way, like we can able to use properly, because we are going to use that subscription will be available for 30 days. We can use all the Azure resources for 30 days. uh, they are going to provide some $200. We can just use that $200 within that 30 days. If you're not using those $200 within 30 days, that $200 will be expired. You cannot use further. Now, if we create free trial after few sessions, when I'm connecting to the storages, so what you can do, you can use same subscription to create your Azure Databricks. Same subscription you can use for creating the storages, databases, data warehouse, Cosmos DB, all those things. Okay, it will be like we can use more optimal way. So that's why don't create this particular free trial account at this point. Okay, I will let you know. But I have already free trial account. Okay, so I'm going to show you all the things within Azure Databricks itself. But you just try all these things in Azure Databricks community. Okay, how to create community, all those things also I will discuss in next few sessions. Okay, let's start with how to log in into Azure portal first. Then we will see how to create Azure Databricks. So as I mentioned, when you create Azure Databricks, so default it will create virtual network, default storage. Okay, so all the security groups, network watcher, all the required services it is going to create it. Next we will talk about dashboard. Okay, what is dashboard? We will see within Azure Databricks. We will have something called dashboard. Then we will talk about home. What is home? I will just discuss. Then we will have a workspace. We will have a recent data management, computation management, model management, job management, and search. So yesterday we discussed about data management, computational management, these two, and we have not discussed model management and the job management. That's why I just included those two in today's session. And creating and configuring cluster in Azure Databricks. So once we understand all these features, then I'm going to show you how to create and configure cluster in Azure Databricks. Then we will talk about how to create Python notebook, Scala notebook, SQL notebook, R notebook. So you can create a different notebooks. It's very, very simple, but I just to give you clarity, I'm going to show you all notebooks how to create. I have mentioned all these points, but it will be easy. So in 1 minute, you will come to know how to create different types of notebooks. Okay. So all those things we will come to know. Let's start with what is dashboard. As we discussed yesterday, an interface that provides organized access to all Databricks assets. Example, this is the dashboard, okay, where you can see all these things, isn't it? So we have notebook, table, cluster, libraries, all recently accessed notebooks. Okay, so here you can create a blank notebook. You can import the data into data management app, and you can, like, if you want to get started with Databricks training, so some sample notebooks you'll have, you can able to explore those things. Quick start tutorial you can use. So this is the dashboard. Let's start with home. Okay, the home organizes objects like notebooks, libraries, and experiments into user folders. Example, you see here, This is a dashboard is completed. Now we are in home. So in this home, you see it's users, multiple users you can maintain. So as I just logged in with Cloud Pandit at the rate outlook.com. So this is the user it is showing. Under this user, I have only one notebook, Cloud Pandit notebook something, right? So now if you want to create a folders, you can create multiple folders here. Inside folders, you can maintain the notebooks. Okay, let's say as we discussed yesterday, I have a Gmail application and I just wanted to develop something like maybe sales data I want to analyze, and then I want to analyze some transactional data. So all the data if you want to analyze, so you can create a different folder, sales, transaction, something, sales data, like how to handle sales data. For that, all the required code you can write it in a notebooks. Those all notebooks you can maintain within a sales folder. All the code which you have written for processing your transactions or for doing some data quality checks, you can maintain the separate folder. So that's how you can create the folders. Inside folders, you can maintain the notebooks. Notebooks will have what? Series of cells or nothing but a series of commands where we are going to write the code. Yesterday we have seen that. Okay, next, workspace. The workspace organizes objects, notebooks, libraries, and experiments into folders. See, there won't be much difference between workspace and home. Workspace, what it will do, it will try to show all the users. Workspace will try to show all the users. If you click on home, it will be a home for the user who logged in. Okay, let's say I want to take some notebook from my colleague. I want to go to his ID. What you need to do, you need to click on workspace so that you can see all the users. Okay, all the users you can able to see. But if you click on home, under your user, whatever is there, only that information you will be able to see. Now you see, this is a workspace. Under workspace, you see users. We have all the users, it will show. If you have any other root folders here, those root folders also you can able to see. But if you go inside users, see, home means, if you click on home means for particular user, for let's say cloudpandit@gmail.com or cloudpandit@outlook.com. So that particular person details it will show. It's a workspace. Workspace means all these things you are able to see. I am just going back to show you home. Just see, home means under this, see, when I click here, so this is a workspace, but under this users, under user you will have a notebooks. So it will show user notebooks information, home for this particular user. But workspace means it's for all the users. Okay, all users you can see in whomever, like your colleague notebooks. If you want to see your colleague ID, you need to click and go inside that to check your colleague notebook. Okay, clear? As of now, clear, friends? Dashboard, home, workspace, clear? Okay, fine. Let's move on. Recents. See, recently open notebooks can be found here. So recently open notebooks can be found here. What it means is, let's say you have hundreds of notebooks, but what you are doing, you are just working on some project, and maybe you have opened one of the notebook. What happens every time if you go and search like notebook which you're working currently, it will be difficult. That's why you have a separate tab called recents. In recents, you can able to see recently opened all the notebooks. So you know recently you opened one notebook where you are currently working. So instead of searching for that particular notebook from hundreds of notebooks, you can directly go to recent tab. In recent tab, it will show you how we have a quick access, right? We will have something called quick access in our computers. What it means, so recently opened things, it will show for us to access some things which we have accessed recently. Quickly we can able to access those things, isn't it? So in the same way, here we have a recent tab which will allow you to access the notebooks which are opened recently. Okay, so let's say I have opened Delta Lake and Lab 3. So these notebooks it will show you. If you have opened hundreds of notebooks, so latest, okay, recently opened notebooks it will show. Okay, but do not worry, if you have 100 notebooks, that is also easy for us to search. There is an option called search. I will show you that. But this is the functionality of recency. We discussed now dashboard, home, workspace, and recent. Dashboard, where we have all the links at a single place. Home means you can able to look into a particular user notebooks folders. Workspace means all users and all the root folders, any user, any notebook if you want to see, it is possible through the workspace. Recent means recently opened notebooks, we can able to view it. Next, let's go to the data management. As we discussed yesterday, data management can be done in multiple ways. One is Databricks file system. We can create databases, we can create the tables and the meta store information. Okay, let's see. This section describes the objects that hold the data on which you can perform analytics, feed into machine learning algorithms, as we discussed yesterday. First one is Databricks file system we will have, where we are going to store like our data, our libraries, images. Library means it's exactly as I mentioned earlier. So Python code or Scala code. So if you group multiple Python files or Scala files, that is called a package. If you combine multiple packages, that is nothing but a library. Okay, so you can put libraries, data files, images within a Databricks file system. Okay, this is an abstraction over blob storage, meaning back and where this data exactly it is going to store is in blob storage. Next, database, a collection of information that is organized so that it can be easily accessed, managed and updated, as we discussed yesterday. Under databases we will have it tables. So with the help of tables we can able to manage and update the respective data. Okay, table, okay, representation of a structured data. You query tables with Apache Spark SQL and Apache Spark APIs. So you can use a direct SQL to read these particular tables, or you can use a Spark SQL module you can use to read these tables. We will discuss how to read this table in a different ways. See example, you have a data tab here. See here databases, you see Cloud Pandit DB. This is the database which I have created. But if you are not creating, by default you will have a database called default database. Okay, so under Cloud Pandit DB I just created a table called courses, so you can see all these things. If you click add, you can able to upload files into Databricks file system. But if you click on data tab, you can able to see database, all the databases which you have. If you want to filter any database, you can able to filter out. Next, if you click on this database, on that database, whatever tables we have, those tables it will show. Out of 100 tables, if you want to search for a particular table, you have a filter table, so you can just search for the table that you are looking for. Okay, next,
Yeah,
computation
Malek.
management. Tell me.
Yeah, same like as normal traditional databases, do we have any default databases like master, temp, like that here?
No. It's not a like a server, right? So it's a simple database where we are storing the data. So you just wanted to store some data. Then instead of creating databases, some temporarily or in development environment, you can use the default. That's why they have given. But we will not have here like master and our own databases. Okay.
Okay,
So we will not have master and normal databases. We'll have a only database called the default. If you want to create your own database, you can create it. It's not a
sure,
server as I mentioned earlier. It's a simple database where we are going to maintain our data with the help of tables. It's just for organizing our data in a tables. We can able to create the multiple databases. In databases, we can create the tables. Okay.
got it. Yeah, thank
Next, we'll see computation management. You see cluster, a set of computation resources and configuration on which you run notebooks and jobs. There are two types of clusters, all-purpose cluster and job cluster. As we discussed, all-purpose cluster will be created by user or developer or architect, manager. Anybody can able to create, but it should be created manually. This cluster can be created using UI interface, CLI, or REST API. So once you create this particular cluster, this cluster you can terminate and restart. You can do these two. Next, multiple users can submit jobs on same cluster which you have created. But if you look at the job cluster, this cluster you are not going to create data. Job scheduler is going to create this particular cluster. Okay, and this cluster will be created when you want to execute the job. Once it is executed the job, it is going to terminate the cluster immediately. So yesterday somebody asked very good question. If the job got failed, will it be restarted? Job will be restarted on same cluster. Okay, remember we have a something called retry option. We have a something called retry option. If you say retry equal to 2 times, second time also that retry will happen on the same cluster. But let's say job got failed, you don't have any retry, you have fixed it and you want to schedule again. Maybe you want to start the job next day. You are just leaving that job as is. So what happened today at 9 o'clock, it got failed, you fixed it and you left like that. Now what happened next day 9 o'clock, it will start the job. When it is started new cluster tomorrow, it is going to create the new job cluster. Okay, everybody is clear what is clusters, the cluster types, all those things. This is very important. In interview multiple times I received this question. Okay, so how many types of clusters we have in Databricks? Very important, you should be able to understand the difference between these two and when to use. Yeah, yesterday Rashmi is asking when to use this particular job cluster, what is the use case, right? So as I already explained in yesterday's session, but we have some time, let's discuss. See, as I mentioned in yesterday's session, let's say you have a job for so very simple, you have some work, okay, only that work may take 1 hour. So for that, will you hire some person and will you pay for him 24 hours, or you are just going to call him for 1 hour work? See, what we do is basically if we have a choice, like if the person is going to come and work for 1 hour, we'll just call that person instead of calling a person who can work 1 hour and charge for 24 hours, right? So in the exact same manner, what happens is if you create the all-purpose cluster, so all-purpose cluster cannot restart when your job is started, right? So what you need to do for that, what you need to do is you need to you all-purpose cluster you need to use when you want to run a job very frequently, maybe every hour I want to run, or every 15 minutes I want to run, something like that. Very frequently, if you want to execute any job, then you need to go for the all-purpose cluster. Because why we need to go for all-purpose cluster in this case? Let's say I want to run every 15 minutes my job I want to run. Now what happens? 9 o'clock it started job. So if you use all-purpose cluster, you know new cluster will not create because already cluster will be available. It will be used to execute. Now at 9 o'clock you are using all-purpose cluster. Job will start exactly at 9 o'clock. In same case, let's go with job cluster. At 9 o'clock job is started. Then what happens? Cluster will create. Let's say cluster took some 9 to 9:05. Your job will start at 9:05 actually, but you expected to run execute your job at 9 o'clock. But when you use job cluster, it is starting at 9:05. Okay, now again 9:15 I want to run the job. So now what happens at 9:15 when you are running the job is, so already all-purpose cluster is keep running, so you can use that particular cluster to start your job. Now job cluster, what happened? Already it is terminated. Job is executed, it terminated. Again from 9:15 you want to run a job by using job cluster. In this case, again what happens? From 9:15 to 9:20 you need to wait to create the new job cluster. So that's why when you have a frequently if you want to run your jobs, then you need to go for all-purpose cluster. But daily one time I want to run my job, then you need to go for the job cluster. How many of you clear, friends? Rashmi, clear now?
And Malaya, additionally, the all-purpose is used for development as well, right? And the job,
Yes, yes,
only was
yes.
for.
See, this we cannot use. So this you don't have any control to create it. That's why job schedule, job cluster we are not going to use for development. So in development, multiple developers are developing the code. So they want to test their code. They are going to execute all their codes on a single cluster, all-purpose cluster. They are going to use an all-purpose cluster for that, not a job cluster, because job cluster you cannot create. How we can execute in development environment? Okay.
So if the job
one more.
fails, is there any way to set a notification to the to the support team?
Yes, we have a notification, so we can able to send it from Databricks itself by using when you schedule jobs in Databricks itself, you can able to send the notification. Otherwise, when you are calling Databricks notebooks from the EDF, there also you can able to set those things. Okay, both the ways it is possible to send the notification. Okay.
Hey Malaya, so assume that if I want to run 30 jobs, so do you recommend to create a job cluster or do you recommend to create all-purpose cluster?
So 30, like, okay.
So assume that in a 3-hour span, if I need to run a 30 jobs, right? So do you recommend to create all-purpose cluster or do you recommend to create a job cluster?
Yeah, so that is again you need to think now you want to run. So if you are going to create a all-purpose cluster, so will you create a 30 clusters?
No, I'll create one cluster. I'll say if it is inactive for 30 minutes, just like inactivate it, right? That's what I can do, right?
So now you also need to think, because as I mentioned, if you go with the job cluster, it is going to create a 30 clusters.
Correct.
Okay, so 30 different configurations. Now, what happens if you use job cluster? It may take more time, but you will get better performance because each job is running on a different cluster. But if you use all-purpose cluster, so you are saying I want to run all the jobs on a single cluster. So performance, you will have some performance issue, because if the resources are not available, other jobs will be in queue. It will take more time. Okay, that's all. But the remaining things are fine. It will take more time if you are executing through all-purpose cluster. In this case, just in job cluster, it will just take time to create the cluster, but later it will finish the job quickly. But one more thing you need to note down here. So when you create a job cluster, you are creating 30 clusters, so cost will increase. So your cost, so if you use job cluster, cost will increase, but you will get better performance. If you use all-purpose cluster, it will take more time, but it will be cost is less.
Got it. Okay.
So you need to decide based on requirement. If the client, so real time, what happens is mostly we will have some SLA. So client will say we will get the data at 4 o'clock. So my business people will come at 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock. So I am giving you 3 hours of SLA. So service level agreement. So within these 3 hours, you should populate data in data warehouse. So whatever you do, how much compute you use, they won't care. But so if you are consuming like more compute and the cost is increased, they will ask you. So you need to decrease the cost. Again, they will ask. If you simply, yeah, so I need to finish the job quickly. So if you are taking a very like large cluster, so cost will increase. Then client will come back to you. They will say, please tune the performance to get the better performance with the low cost. So when you are developing itself, you need to take care. So those performance improvements, how to do it whenever you are reading a file, we will discuss. Okay.
Okay. Got it.
Malaya, a quick question is, what is the definition of a job? Basically, why I'm asking this is it one jar is a job? Is it a one notebook is a job? Because I can combine multiple tables load into one job through a wrapper or something.
One notebook is a job. One Python file is a job.
Okay. One jar is a job, like that, right?
Yes.
Okay.
It's not as for single table. See how you have written. So example, I will tell you in one of my like project, what happened is actually before we go into that project, they have what like they took every like all freshers into that project. So freshers, what they will do, so they don't have much idea on these projects, right? So for each table, they have written a one notebook. Then the client was saying like the client already made like half payment. Then the client told, so you need to do something. So it's not a correct way to develop the project, right? So then they took us and we have done so all automation. So what we have done is with the help of some input parameters, we pass the table one by one, because same logic we need to apply on all the tables. So now, if you consider freshers notebooks, so you are going to run a multiple notebooks for like for each table you are running one notebook. But in my case, same notebook is running for multiple tables. Understood? So that is also depends how you have developed your notebook. But when you are creating job, when you are running your job, you are going to create a job, and you will say, I want to execute this particular notebook. I want to execute this particular Python file. I want to execute this kind of jar file. If it is a Scala and Java, you need to create a jar file and submit. If it is a Python, you can submit a Python file. But if you have a Scala and Python, R and SQL, you can use the notebooks. Okay, notebooks. But mostly what I've seen is 95 to 97%. Most of the people are using notebooks, not Python files or jar files. Okay, so that's why we will spend most of our time on a notebooks, and I also will show you how to submit Python files. Clear?
Okay.
So I have one question. Say I have one notebook and notebook 1, and I have another notebook, notebook 2, and I made a dependency. Notebook 1 has to run first and followed by notebook 2, and I create as a single job. I think, is that possible?
Yes, that is going to be a single job only. In that case, see, internally you are going to call the another notebook from the one notebook, so that will come under a single job, because you are not touching second notebook. So first notebook is going to take care of that.
Right. So we can have any number of notebooks and add a dependency, but it depends on the requirement. We have to split the jobs accordingly.
You are right. Okay. Fine. Let's start now. See, pool, we just discussed pool. The instance pools APIs allow you to create, edit, delete, and list instance pools. So you can create a pool. When you create a pool, what you can do, you can just say, I want to maintain 3 nodes. So later you can edit it and you can say, I want 5 nodes. You can delete completely pool. You can just list all the compute which you have in this pool. Okay, you can do all those things. Next, a set of ideal ready to use instances. See, whatever compute you have in the pool, those are ready to use. You already those are running, so you can use, you can just take those things for your use. Okay, ready to use, all those are compute are running, so you can immediately use, ready to use, and that reduce cluster start time. So what it will do, it will allow you to start your cluster immediately instead of getting the compute from the cloud providers, then starting it. So it will allow you to execute your job immediately. Even when you use auto scaling option, so based on your load, you are going to increase the number of compute. So when you increase the number of compute here, what will happen is it is going to take the compute from the pool. So it pool is already running this computer, so it will be easy for us to finish the job. Like to execute, to get the compute, it will be much more faster. Next, when attached to a pool, cluster allocates its driver worker nodes from the pool. See, when we are creating a cluster, we are going to say, I need to take computers from the pool. So what pool will do? Pool will provide the driver worker nodes to the cluster. Next, if the pool does not have, so what is driver worker, you will come to know, so you need to wait some time. If the pool does not have sufficient ideal resources, as I mentioned, so when you need 4 computes in your cluster, but pool also don't have, what pool will do? So we just discussed. Can you tell me what pool will do?
It will fetch the servers or the computers out of the cloud.
It will fetch the compute from the cloud provider again. Okay. If the pool does not have sufficient ideal resources to accommodate the cluster requested for 4, but pool does not have, then what happens? Pool expands by allocating new instances from the instance provider. So that is nothing but a cloud provider. From instance provider or cloud provider, it will get the new instances. So once pool get those things, pool will provide those new instances to your cluster to accommodate the cluster request. Okay. When the attached cluster is terminated, let's say your cluster is terminated because you are not submitting any job in next 15 minutes. Then what happens? The instances it used, it means cluster used, are returned to the pool. So whatever we have used in the cluster, those computes will go back to the pool. Whatever computes are available in the pool, these compute can be used by other clusters. Even if other clusters are also not requesting in next 15 minutes, even pool also can terminate those things. these compute can be written back to the instance provider. Okay, so you can set the inactive time in the pool level, you can set the inactive time in the cluster level, both the levels it is possible. Okay, any questions on that? Computation management. See, so this is very, very important to note down. So Databricks runtime. Okay, try to understand the set of core components that run on the cluster managed by Databricks. Databricks offers several types of runtimes. So what is runtime? All this is example. Let's say if you install Python in your computer, so you can execute your Python code. Now I am going to get the computers from the instance provider. But can I execute Spark on that? Can I execute Spark on that? No, you need to tell what you need to install on those computers, right? So what computers you need? So in those computers, what softwares you want to install, what modules you want to install, that core components, what core components you want in those compute, you need to tell with the help of Databricks runtime. The set of core components, okay, that are run on the cluster managed by Databricks. Okay, Databricks is managed cluster. Okay, so Databricks is managing this cluster. This cluster is nothing but a group of computers. In these computers, what components you want? Okay, what core components you want? So that you need to tell it based on the Databricks runtime. So we have a Databricks offers several types of runtimes. Example, Databricks runtime. It is a general purpose. Okay, it's a general purpose for better performance and security, usability. If you want to run any Spark job, so Databricks runtime you can able to use any Spark job. But you have a specific requirement. I want to run my machine learning models. I have developed some machine learning models using Spark. Then you need to use a Databricks runtime for machine learning. So that what happens, some of the commonly used libraries like TensorFlow, Keras, PyTorch, XGBoost. So these are the libraries, machine learning model used libraries, commonly used libraries. These libraries will be available without installing. Okay, now if you, let's say I have used a Databricks runtime, I just use Databricks runtime. Now what happens when you are writing Databricks, when you are implementing the machine learning models, so you need to import the TensorFlow library. You need to use TensorFlow. You need to use Keras. You need to use PyTorch. So in all these cases, what is going to happen is these libraries will not be available. So if you use Databricks runtime, these libraries will not be available. Okay, so if you have a specific requirement where you need to use machine learning models, then you need to specify Databricks runtime for machine learning. Then you will get a computers which has these libraries installed. Okay, next, Databricks runtime for genomics. So you want to deal with biomedical data. Okay, you have some medical data, biomedical data. So these medical data you want to process. So for that, what all modules you need? Okay, what all libraries you need? So that particular libraries will be installed on the computers. So for that, you need to use a Databricks runtime for genomics. We have finally something called Databricks Lite. So what Databricks Lite will do is, Databricks Lite is a very cheap and it will not allow you to do much things. Okay, so when you don't worry about your performance, you just want to try out something. Okay, so I don't want to submit my jar file or Python file or any other thing. I just want to execute my Databricks notebooks without worrying about any performance. Then you need to go for the Databricks Lite. Okay, let's see the definitions. Databricks runtime, you see, it includes Apache Spark but also adds a number of components updates that subsequently substantially improve the usability, performance and security of big data analytics. So general purpose, okay, you just want to worry about, you have some performance concerns and I want to execute my data engineering Spark code, maybe you can say MIB or data warehouse related Spark code you want to execute, or you just doing some data quality checks, small things you have, then you can go with the Databricks runtime. You are implementing machine learning. See, it is built on Databricks runtime and provides a ready to go environment for machine learning. So for machine learning environment will be ready if you select this runtime. Okay, machine, you see, ready to go environment for machine learning and data science. It contains multiple popular libraries including TensorFlow, Keras, PyTorch, and XGBoost. Next, Databricks runtime for genomics. It is a version of Databricks runtime optimized for working with a genomic and biomedical data. Okay. Next, Databricks Lite. It provides a runtime option for jobs that don't need the advanced performance. You are not worrying about performance and reliability, auto scaling benefits provided by Databricks runtime. So you're not worrying about anything. You can select Databricks Lite only when you create a cluster to run a jar, Python, Spark, Submit jobs. You cannot select this runtime for clusters on which you run interactive or notebook job workloads. Sorry, I just uh, like swapped the input. So you can use Databricks Lite for executing jar, Python, Spark, Submit jobs, but you cannot execute a interactive notebook like you have written some code in a cells. So notebook is nothing but a series of cells or commands. So in this series of cells or command, you have written some code. That code, if you want to execute, Databricks Lite will not work. But if you want to submit your Python file or jar file or Spark-submit code, you can able to use Databricks Lite. But we have not used Databricks Lite. Okay, in real time also, at least we will use Databricks runtime, but we won't use Databricks Lite. I don't know whether it is available or not, but you see Databricks runtime for machine learning will be available by default. But if you want Databricks runtime for genomics, you need to go to advanced tabs. So there is some advanced tabs there. You need to enable that. By default, Databricks runtime for genomics also will not be available. You need to enable this. Okay, I will tell you how to get this if you have requirement. Even so, I'll just show you as we don't have a specific requirement to handle biomedical data, but I will just show you how to get this Databricks runtime for genomics. By default, when you are creating the cluster, you will have a Databricks runtime for machine learning. So both the things will be available. Okay, any questions on this?
Databricks runtime, when you say it is basically for those cloud instances where the Hadoop or related big data related library or softwares are already installed, is it? Or they will be installed once you request it?
Once you request, based on your request, this will be installed.
Okay. Okay.
See, installed means you do not know actually whether they are giving normal computers, then they are installing, or they have already computers which has machine learning modules already installed and you are getting those missions. But ultimately, when you select a Databricks runtime for machine learning, you will have all the libraries, all the popular libraries for your machine learning.
I'm asking about the previous one, Databricks runtime.
Yeah, in Databricks runtime means anyhow, when you say Databricks runtime, what happens? Spark will be installed.
Okay.
A Spark will be installed and all common libraries. Let's say, how many of you working on Spark since last few years? If you look at last few years, you might have downloaded some of the libraries from the Maven repository. So those libraries developed by whom? Databricks team is developed. Let's say for handling your CSV data, or for handling ORC, Parquet for connecting to some databases, right? So some drivers, all these things developed by Databricks team has developed a lot of things for the Spark. So now when you select a Databricks runtime, all those things without installing from the Maven, most of the things are available within the Databricks. Okay, when you say Databricks runtime, all those things you will get it automatically on that particular computer. You don't need to install explicitly. But some of the third-party services, let's say when you are reading Excel file in plain Python, or when you are reading Excel file in Spark, when you are reading XML file in Spark, you need to install the some of the libraries.
Understood.
Yeah, Malaya, just one question. So, a Databricks runtime for machine learning, can we use this, cluster for ETL job as well? Like, can we
Yes,
run
yes,
both
yes,
type of
100%
jobs
you can
here?
use. Only thing is extra libraries you will get it. Only that is the thing. So let's say I will show you those things anyhow, don't worry. We will see when you just select a Databricks runtime, whether this TensorFlow, these libraries available or not, I will show you. If it is not available, how to install. See, even if you select a Databricks runtime, this TensorFlow library, all these things will not be available, but you can install them. Later you can install them. But instead of installing those libraries explicitly, you can just select this particular runtime so that all those things without installing by default available. Okay, that is the difference. Okay. Yes, you can execute. See, you can execute machine learning jobs here, but only thing is you need to install machine learning libraries as those are not available. You can execute your ETL jobs here, but you are not using these libraries if you are selecting this. That's all. Any other questions, friends?
All these options are configurable through the CLI, right? Or is it only available in UI?
No. Everything possible through all interfaces.
Okay, all three options. Okay, fine.
Yeah. Okay, let me just move on now. Model management. So do not worry much about this model management. Okay, this section describes concepts that you need to know to train machine learning model, how to train a machine learning model. See, first what you will have, so as I mentioned, right, first you need to have a historical data, history. So in history, whom you have given loan, who has paid, who has not paid. So whoever is not paid, what is the reason, whether he is married or not, what is his income, whether he has own business, whether he is working in some organization, how much loan he has taken, what is the duration, okay, tenure. So all those information, previous history, whatever experience we get, see how human life will be. So based on his experience, okay, if he fail, next time he will know the failure, how it will be, right? So next time he will try to avoid that failure. So first you need to understand the your experience. You need to get some experience. Let's say first time you will think, okay, everybody is good, but as the time goes you will come to know who is who, like who is what, right? So in the same way, this mission also does not know anything. How you are training, it will just train it. Okay, so first thing that we have is, with historical data you need to prepare the model. You need to design your model. Okay, your machine learning model you need to design. Okay, first time you see mathematical function that represent the relation between a set of predictors and outcome. You train a model using an existing data set. So we need to train this model with existing data set. Existing data set means our historical data, we need to take it, that is the existing data. That data we need to take and train this model, whatever model you developed. Then use the model to predict outcome of new data. Outcome of new data we want to predict means what, friends? Let's say new person came today for asking the loan. So now you need to ask a mission with your past experience. You already got to know a lot of information, who has paid, who has not paid. So what is the probability of paying this person? If I grant a loan for this particular person, what is the chances of getting that particular loan back? Okay, so all that outcome you can able to get it for the new data. Okay, new customers will get it. But now you need to run this. Maybe to get this outcome you need to run it. So what you will know, what you will do is a collection of parameters, metrics and tags related to training a machine learning model. So what you are going to do, you are going to pass a different parameters. Okay, different parameters, metrics, tags. If you pass it to run a model, so what it will do, it will try to increase the performance. So different based on the inputs which you are giving, what happens is you can try with a different values and you see the how the accuracy is increasing. Okay, let's say example I will tell you. User is maybe is requesting loan for 5 lakhs, but you just say is requesting for 3 lakhs. How these things, like what is the probability of getting back? So if you try with 2 lakhs, how much probability that you can get it back. So likewise, some of the inputs you can able to pass it as a parameters to model, so that model will generate a different result. Okay, all those result, okay, all those result, this particular executed output, everything you can store it in a experiment. You see, the primary unit of organization access control for runs all the executions, all the execution details. If you want to monitor, you need to go to the experiment. Here you will have access control for all the runs. All ML flows runs belongs to an experiment. Okay, under experiment, all these runs will happen. An experiment lets you visualize, search, and compare runs. So you can just compare the runs. Okay, what is the result in previous run? What is the result in current run? What is the difference? All those things you can able to do. Your output, if you want to download, you can able to download, as well as download run artifacts or metadata for analysis in other tools. So same output you can take it and you can just analyze in the other tools. Okay, maybe with the different algorithms, whatever you want to do, you can able to do it. Okay, so this part we may not discuss, but I will just try, if possible we will discuss one or two. Okay, but you just get some idea. Okay, we'll have a model, run, and experiments. Okay? Next, see, in this model you will have details. If you have any tags, description, see, I have not created anything. So if you have created, see, this is what I mentioned. So you have dashboard, home, workspace, recents, data management, cluster management. So I have not discussed job management, right? So jobs I will just discuss, and you have model management. You see here you will have all the models if you have created anything. Next, jobs. Okay, a non-interactive mechanism for running a notebook or library, either spelling mistake, I think, either immediately or on a schedule basis. Okay, a non-interactive mechanism. See, you are not going to execute one cell and see the result, execute second cell and see the result, then you stop it. It's not like that. It's a non-interactive mechanism, meaning if you attach a notebook, enter notebook, it will try to execute. If at all any failure happen, so other cells will not execute, your job will be stopped there itself. Okay, see how to create jobs. From the jobs, you can say click create job. You need to give the job name, then you need to attach which notebook to execute, on which cluster you want to execute, who has created. Those things will be attached automatically based on the ID which you have logged in. Okay, job ID also automatically it will create. Okay, next, search. As I said, search to find something like folder or notebook. We have hundreds of notebooks or folders. You want to find out something, you can able to search it in a search option. This is the final option we have, so you can just use this. Okay, you can see here I'm just trying to search it or something, so you'll get all the related search. Okay, whatever is matching those folders, notebooks, users, all that information will come here. Okay, that's all slides I have. Okay, any questions we have?
Malaya, how do you share a notebook with another user here?
Another?
So if you have two users and they want to work on the same notebook, how would they do that? You saw that in the workspace, you have a shared feature.
No, yesterday I have shown you, right? So when you open, so another user can open same notebook. It will show on top. It will show this person also using this notebook. This person also opened this notebook. It will show something like that. I have shown you, right? You remember?
Yeah, right. But then how are the privileges goes to the other user? For instance, it is my notebook and I am working on it. I created from my ID, right?
See,
It is
that is depends on how you are controlling those permissions. What happens is mostly, so I don't see anybody's controlling the code, because what people will do with that code. So even they have taken the code, they cannot do anything because we have a version control as well. But I have seen some of the cases where like we won't get a access to download those notebooks. Okay, it's very rare, 1 or 2%, but 98% you can able to do anything in a notebook. Okay, I don't see anybody like controlling those notebook like notebook like
I think there is an option called permissions.
Yes, permissions we have, you can able to control it. Like you just give them a read access, you just give them only like edit access, but now you can stop them downloading notebook. So those things we can able to do.
Yeah, we can share that notebook to them, right? By providing the permissions.
I think, see, without permissions, nobody is going to control sharing the notebook. I think you can able to share.
Right.
Okay,
So
because
will you show us, Malaya, something in the future classes or in the subsequent classes?
yes, we will discuss that.
Oh.
See, it is very easy.
Oh.
So basically what happens most of the time whenever we are working, whenever our colleagues, see, because you may have all these questions, but practically in reality, we will not stop sharing the notebooks. What we will tell is to our colleagues, hey, don't change my original file. Please take a clone of it and you can modify. You just do whatever you want to do. That's how we are going to tell them. So what they are going to do, they are going to take a clone of that notebook. They are going to take a copy of that particular notebook and they will rename it and they will work on it. In the same way, when something is not working in real time project, let's say a client has reported some issue, so we won't go and, as we have a version control, we won't go and do the changes in a original notebook. It will be very difficult if something goes wrong again. So we will take a clone, we will take a copy of the notebook and we will work on that. If everything work fine, then we will like swap it. Swap it means we will just rename these two files. Understood? So that's how we will do the things. Okay. Okay. So now what I do, I'll just quickly launch the. So don't worry for today. For today, don't worry. See, this is the Databricks. Sorry, it's a Azure portal. Okay, in this Azure portal, you need to search for Azure Databricks. Okay. See, this is the Azure Databricks option. Just click on this. You have a Azure Databricks here. So you can just click on here to create, or you can click here to create. Just click on add to create the Azure Databricks. Okay. So first thing you need to understand subscription. Subscription means how you want to make a payment. So let's say we have a free trial. So we got $200, right? So it will be available for 1 month. Now this is the subscription. In this subscription, what I can do, I can launch a Databricks. I can create my own storages. I can create my own databases. Whatever I want to create, I can create. Now what I wanted to do, all the dependency resources I want to maintain in a one group. Now I have created one WhatsApp group for all our Databricks teammates. Why? It will be easy for me to share some information. It will be easy for me to understand who all are there in this particular team. Okay, so so in terms of resources here, resource group, what happens is we can also estimate how much we are paying. Okay, we have 10 resources. Each resource is going to consume $1. So $10 I'm making every hour. So something like that we will come to know. For that we have something called resource group. We are going to group the resources. For that we need to create a resource group. Let me just say here Cloud Pandit. Okay, Databricks. Cloud Pandit Databricks master. Okay, program. So this is the my group. Okay, click create. Now you need to give the Databricks name. What is the workspace name you want to give? You can give. Let's say that is also Cloud Pandit ADB, Azure Databricks. Okay, Cloud Pandit ADB. Now, so in which location you want to launch? In which location? See, cloud means we are accessing the resources from data centers. Okay, remotely. Compute is available somewhere. I don't know where it is, but I can able to just access from my home, isn't it? So now the question is, this compute is available in a multiple locations. So do you have any location preference? Yes. So based on your client location, we will select this region. I will give you a better example for the region. let's say, please tell me, you everybody has to answer. I am in India, I have data in US, I'm trying to access the data. Okay, this is scenario 1. My scenario 2 is I have data in India and I am accessing, I am also in India. Now, which thing I can able to access quickly? Which data I can able to access quickly? Tell me friends, quickly please.
India.
India data, very good. So
Yeah,
the
Malay.
reason is it is near to me. In the same way, it is near to me. In the same way, whenever you are creating any resource, you need to launch it near to your client location. Let's say your client is let's say US client, then you need to create it in US, but in US also multiple regions we have. Somebody is unmute, I think. Check it. Mishra, please be in mute. See, just to search here US. See how many US data centers we have. You see Central US, East US to North Central US, South Central US, West US. So in US also you can select which region you want. But let me go with the East US. The pricing type. So you want standard, premium, trial. So premium means you are talking about some role-based access control, right? I want to control, I want to give only read permission, I want to just give the write permission, something like that. All those permission, role-based access control, if you want to do, you need to go with premium. Okay, for now, let me go with standard. Okay, just click review plus create. Other things we don't require. Okay, tags and other things are just a key value paste. If you want, you can give, otherwise you just leave it as is. Review plus create. So it is going to validate all the details which you have given and click create. Okay, I just created the Databricks workspace. Okay, that's all you need to do. Now you see it is going to create it. Okay, it is going to create. Now come back. What you need to do is
So Malay, in
so
this case, when
just
it
wait,
is a
friends. You cannot
standard,
take
then
wait. So because now it
yeah,
is
no
important
problem.
to explain. See, go to resource groups. Now you see I have created this resource group. Now I have created this resource group, but one more resource group will be created. In that group, it is going to launch some of the related resources. In the same way, in this particular group also, it is going to launch some of the storage and other stuff. We'll see all the things that it is going to create. Okay, one thing you can do, just go to all resources. In all resources, see, we just launched the Databricks workspace. You see what all things it is going to create. In next 5 minutes, it is going to create a lot of things. We'll see all those things. Okay, yeah, tell me now.
Yeah, so Malay, in this case, if it is a standard cluster, then we will not be able to share the notebook with the
No.
other person.
Sharing
So
can be
the
done, but
changes
you
will not
cannot
work.
control the access. Sharing
Okay.
can be done, anything can be done, but you cannot control the access based on role. Okay, whom to give what kind of access, you cannot control those things because we don't have a role-based
Okay.
access control if you select standard.
Okay, I understand. And what is the pricing difference between these two? If I
So
have to,
those
let's
things,
say, select.
we will discuss. We will discuss those
Okay.
pricing. Just to focus on this friends because it's very important. So this is what I wanted to show you all. So we discussed Databricks architecture. So as per Databricks architecture, we should see virtual network, we should see security group, we should see storage. Okay, all those things we will see. Today I can able to show this much. Like I'll just show you up to the creating the Databricks workspace, and I will open it and I will show you all the tabs which are available. Remaining stuff we will discuss tomorrow, creating cluster and other stuff. Okay, just wait for a few more minutes.
Malaya, while the cluster is getting created, We have the third option as trial 14 days. So that is not recommended, or it has a limited period.
Just for practice purpose. Okay, for 14 days, if you want to experience all the Databricks features, you can do that.
Okay, I understand. And then after we can also upgrade it to the standard and premium version, right?
Yes, that's what the plan, right? So everybody, what they will do. So even when most of the people giving the training, they will show demo sessions. If they like the demo, then they can able to join the session. The same way, they will give the free trial. If you like the features, if you are interested, so most of the time what happens, whenever you are deciding the project, you need to decide a lot of things. So how quickly you want to finish the job, like job means how quickly you want to deliver this particular project. If you have a less time, so within a less time, okay, with the less work, which tool can able to do the best job? Example, let me just stop the recording. I will give you some examples. Okay, you see now, storage account is created, network watcher created, network security group created, virtual network created. So everything is created, isn't it? Everything is created. Okay, but you see here there is a small, you need to understand. So it has created the 2 more groups automatically. Okay, network watcher, to maintain a network watcher, it has created the separate group, network watcher, which will watches all your network related stuff. Okay, for maintaining the other services apart from Databricks, it has created other group, Cloud Pandit, RG, Cloud Pandit, ADB, and something. See, it has created another resource group for storage, network security group, and virtual network. Okay, just to say that. So you got almost all the things, right? Now come back, go to resource group. You see how many resource groups you have. Basically you created this, but in this group you have only that workspace, but it required all the dependencies, control pane. So it is going to launch that, right? So it is going to create the all storages, all those things as I mentioned. Now click on this Databricks master program resource group, then click on this particular resource Cloud Pandit ADB. Now I want to open this workspace, then just click on launch workspace. Okay, see here you have home tab, like dashboard, home, workspace, recent data, cluster, job, model, search, whatever we discussed, everything is there or not? Here you see it's a home. If you click on dashboard, if you click on home, you see if you click on home, it is going into users. If you click on workspace, one second. See, workspace means this one. Okay, you have workspace users. All recent means recently open notebooks. Data means you will have a database. So database, default database will come when you create a cluster. Otherwise, it will not show. So cluster, you can able to create it from here. You see pool, job cluster, all-purpose cluster. Everything is available. Jobs, you can able to schedule it from here. Models, you can create it here. Okay. Search, here you can able to do the search. Okay, clear? So remaining stuff we will discuss tomorrow, friends. Okay. Everybody's fine. Any questions, friends?
Yeah, one quick question. Is it a SSO kind of thing?
SSO, I don't know what is SSO.
Single sign-on?
Yes, it's a single sign-on. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes, single sign-on. So with the help of Azure Active Directory, all the authentication will be done.
Sure.
With Azure Active Directory, it is.
Yeah, Malaya, like tomorrow, if you can just show, I mean, how do we access DBFS? I mean, I know we can access through CLI and from the main page also. Is there any other way to access DBFS?
See, Rashmi, you are, I have allowed you to join in the previous batch. I'm not sure how you have missed it, but if you have missed it, I will share that particular session. I cannot just give that particular session directly tomorrow for you because other people will not be able to do anything. So you just, if you have anything, if you want to understand, ping me in WhatsApp so that I can share that particular session to you from the previous batch so that it will be helpful for you.
Okay, sure. Thank you.
Fine, no problem. Okay, thank you all. Thank you.